work on? Do you feel that you are able to do that? I know some people wanted to work on time management, some people wanted to see get more hands-on clinical experience, um, and really kind of put all the pieces together. So do you feel like you are doing that? Are you seeing the pieces all come together? Yes, no,
Yes.
yeah. I'm just getting these one word answers. No details.
I'll jump in. Yeah,
Thank you, Robert.
I was one of the people who like wanted to just see all the pieces kind of come together. That was like one of my things, and I feel like it definitely is starting. You know, it's not 100% there yet, but you definitely start to see everything put together and how all the pieces come together. And you know, having like the clinical with the senior immersion, it's like not only are you worrying about, you know, the patients and the patient care, but you're also seeing like essentially like a day in the life of how things are handled that you wouldn't even think of needing handling, but end up coming up in a day-to-day basis. And how, you know, the nurse will handle that, and or how, you know, interactions between nurses or between, you know, other interprofessional, you know, people. uh it's just, it's starting to definitely come together.
All right, great. Thank you for that feedback, Robert. Hopefully, everyone is having some type of that experience, starting to see how all the dots come together, because in less than 2 months, on the other side of the NCLEX, that will be you handling those patients. Now, think about how you felt on your first day of clinical, your first clinical in last year, and how you're feeling now halfway through this last semester. Do you feel like you are ready to take on that challenge on the other side of the NCLEX? All right, so I see some nodding heads. All right, that's good. So I'm hoping that you will be feeling much more comfortable. That you've had a remarkable difference from how you felt that first day of clinical. Maybe not even having had patient care experience before. Some of you had, but for those of you who hadn't, that feeling of not really knowing anything and how you feel today, there should be a significant jump in your confidence about even just interacting with your patients, knowing what is being discussed when you hear a report, and tying all those pieces together. So today we are going to be focusing on delegation. And in the role of a leader, and remember, leadership is an action, not a title. Delegation is a part of what you are going to be expected to do as a nurse. It is impossible to do everything, be everywhere, and meet all of the needs for your patients at the same time. So when you have multiple focuses trying to draw attention to them, how do you manage that? How do you utilize the leadership skills that you're developing to be able to appropriately delegate, manage your patients, ensure that your patients feel that they are being heard, and you also are managing whatever their emergency might be? So that's the activity that we are going to be doing today, and it is going to be a more interactive activity. And so it's going to involve you know, providing feedback, taking notes, because then you're going to be making some decisions about what we do with our patients. Now, this is a learning activity, so I don't want you to be so much more concerned about if I did the right thing or the wrong thing, or how, you know, how should it have been done differently. We will talk about that, really kind of get a sense of, okay, so Johnny, you think we should do this first? Charles, what do you think? And Cindy, do you agree or do you see it differently? What's another approach that could be done? Sometimes there's more than one way to solve the problem. And a good leader understands kind of all of the moving parts that are happening at that time. And like Robert says, there are things that are going to be kind of thrown into the mix that you didn't even think about from your role as a nurse that you'd have to be dealing with. Sometimes you are, a part of the moving company and you're moving that patient from one unit to the next. Another time you are the gopher. You're going to pick up the blood or drop a specimen off, or, it's just, there's a lot of things that go into the day. Or you might have a patient who has been there for a long time and maybe, doesn't have any visitors or family. And, you and your peers on the unit decide to throw, it's the patient's birthday, you throw together a little party or something like that. There are a lot of things that you wouldn't think that might come up in the day, or you have a patient who was brought to the hospital emergently, and then, maybe a couple hours after they've been settled on your unit, they're now concerned and worried because their pets were left at home and there's no one to go check on them, and you might now have to be reaching out to a neighbor or someone else to, be taking care of that, because even though it might seem like a minor thing, if the patient's mind is distracted or that's what they're concerned about, you may not be able to get them to engage in what you need them to do because they are otherwise distracted. And so there's always a lot of things that are going on, and you're having to figure out how to delegate those tasks, figure out what can I hand off to someone else, especially when you think about the role of your PCT or nurse's aide, depending on which setting you're working in. What are delegatable tasks that I can pass on so that I'm not doing everything? And that is probably one of the most important skills that you're going to learn as a nurse, next to being a good listener, is understanding how to delegate effectively. Because if you don't understand how to delegate effectively, you are going to burn out, guaranteed. You want to guarantee burnout? Don't effectively delegate. So that is what we are going to be focusing on today. Before, I think I'm just going to switch things around a little bit. So in the interest, just to keep things seamless, let's just talk about what's upcoming for assignments, and then we will get started on delegation, our delegation activity.